Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diana Bitner of True Women's Health. This is our next episode of Let's Chat. Tonight, we're going to talk about fresh start for fall. But I just can't tell you how much I like doing these Let's Chat. I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of friends and friends I haven't met yet. It's just becoming such a comfortable platform to talk about all things women's health. We get so much great feedback about how we can bring on different experts and guests and just have a conversation. Even though I can't see your faces, I feel like I'm having a conversation with you. So in that vein, please feel free to leave comments, questions, just say hi. I love to know you're all out there. And if you're not able to see this live and you're seeing this after the fact, great to have you even at that point. Please also share this with your friends. Our goal at True Women's Health is to reach as many women as possible. Of course, if you're in the state of Michigan, especially in West Michigan, we'd love to see you in person. But if you're just, able to watch us via the internet, via YouTube, via Facebook, and we're able to, help even just with a little bit of information, or we can help improve the quality of your life just a little bit, we feel so happy that we can be a part of your life. So I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for trusting us with your time and space. We know there's so much information out there. There's so many resources. And so again, honored that you've chosen to share some of your precious time with us. Tonight, it's one of my favorite subjects. I think about this, I'm a mom. I'm now empty nester in the sense my kids are all, out of college or in college. And so I don't have that traditional fall getting ready for school other than getting my youngest off to college again. He's so self-sufficient. I didn't even get to take him there. He just took himself. But it's still the time where, I don't know about you guys, but as a mom, is just the season. It's getting back into our groove. During the summer months, it's, we kind of let our hair down. So tonight's Let's Chat, fresh start for fall. I care about this because it's so important that we learn that it's okay to take a little bit of a break from our usual routine. But as we get older, we don't get that free time as much. But again, I don't know about you all, but I ate a little bit more, had a little more alcohol, stayed up a little bit too late, got off my exercise regimen. I'm a Grand Haven girl, so we love Coast Guard Festival. I don't know how the rest of the world doesn't celebrate Coast Guard Festival, but we just really shut it down and take a couple days and chill and don't drive the car and see friends. And so again, it's kind of like once Coast Guard's done and once Labor Day starts and kids are off to school, again, it's time to get back. So tonight, what I want to talk about is really what happens in this time frame of where we get off track. And then, what do we do about it? And so then we'll do our usual sequence of events tonight in terms of, we'll go through very specific suggestions in terms of what can we do after we talk a bit about why. Then I'm going to, of course, talk about our 5 tips or 5 takeaways. And then, of course, 5 questions that you can ask your healthcare provider if you're not here in the area to ask us at True. And so let's just dig in. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. And again, it's a beautiful night here in Michigan. I don't know, wherever you are. Again, appreciate your time. So again, how I think about this time of summer, of taking a break from regular stuff, it also is an analogy to, for example, when you might take time off your regular schedule to take care of a loved one. If you have a parent that's ill or a child that needs extra time, it might be a stretch of 3, 4, or 5 days where you're not exercising. You're not able to eat your good complex carbs. Maybe you're with someone in the hospital for 5 days, and so you're eating at the hospital cafeteria and mashed potatoes and just comfort food, just quick as you can. If you are, heaven forbid, you sprain your ankle and people are bringing you casseroles, it's a time where whenever you get off your regimen, what happens? And one thing that I want you to think about is that with the loss of exercise, there's a loss of muscle mass. And you might recall the Facebook Live I did with Mitch Shooks over from Grip Gym, but we really talked a lot about the power of muscle. And muscle does more than raise our metabolism. That's what I was always taught, is just this sort of generic, it raises your metabolism. How I want you to think about it is the muscle mass really helps your body decide where to store calories when they come in. So whenever you eat something, your body has to decide where to put it. And if you have more muscle mass, you're more sensitive to insulin, and that sugar can get into your muscle cells. It can get into your liver cells. It can get into your brain. It doesn't directly go to fat. But if your muscle mass starts to drop, then you're less sensitive to insulin. You're more insulin resistant, and therefore what you eat is more likely to go to fat. And fat is that vacuum cleaner just waiting for extra sugar in the blood to suck it out. So, of course, it's more complicated than that. Dr. Egan at our practice has taught me a lot more about metabolic health, but we'll just kind of keep it in simple terms and in a way that makes sense. But as we lose muscle mass, that's what happens. So, for example, one way we can stay on track is even if you can't do your full exercise, let's say your 45 minutes of strength training, can you do 10 minutes of squats and lunges? Can you do 5 minutes of core? Can you do some triceps push-ups on the ground? How can we, at least if we can't build muscle mass, how can we maintain it? So again, one of the things that happens when we get off our regular exercise schedule is we lose muscle. And that's what sets us behind. And again, as we progress through midlife and menopause, it's harder to get back. As you guys know, like as we get older, if we don't exercise for 2 weeks, oh my gosh, it takes 3 weeks to catch back up, right? But when we were 30, we could not work out for a month and you're right back at it. So again, that muscle mass, it just goes away quicker. And Mitch sent me an interesting article that when women are building muscle, so you have one woman who's on estrogen, one woman who's not, the woman who's on estrogen will build muscle faster if they're both doing the same exercise program. So again, if you're not taking estrogen, if it's not safe for you or you choose not to, you just have to work harder to keep that muscle so you don't lose it. Another thing that happens when we get a little off track is maybe we're not sleeping as much. We're staying up a little later. It's so fun to take advantage of the long hours of daylight, or the campfire, or the extra boat ride, or the extra I'm gonna stay up a little bit later, not get my work done. If we're not getting as much sleep, what sleep does is sleep can also make us more insulin resistant. So we might crave sugar more. So the next day when it's, another day of the vacation and there's extra s'mores or extra beer or extra whatever, not only are we going to have it more available, but we're going to crave it more. And when we crave it more and we take it in, it's going to go straight to fat. It becomes this vicious cycle. So again, if you haven't slept a whole lot as much as normal, then it's time to get back on track also with your sleep. Also then we think about adding all the treats of summertime. So let's think of the white buns on the hot dog, or the white potatoes in the potato salad, or the extra beer, the popsicle, the s'mores, all those extra yummy treats that we tend to add during the summer, they add up. And so that extra sugar adds up in terms of those being simple carbs, those being, fruits and vegetables with not as much fiber. So for example, watermelon versus a blackberry. Blackberry has lots of fiber, watermelon not so much. So watermelon is going to be a simple sugar, and it's more likely to go to fat, especially if you have it with a white bun on your hot dog and you have it with white potato salad. And then of course, the brownies and all the yummy stuff that goes with it, and an IPA. So it's again, that's what happened. Now we're going to talk about getting back on track. But as you get back on track, it's just to know that's why you gained that extra weight. And so you'll be able to get it off as you change those habits back to more healthy habits. The other thing, again, it's less organized exercise. Hopefully you've been very active this summer, maybe swimming, running, biking, being outside, just playing, but again, it's without that less organized exercise. If you've not been doing strength training, if you've not been doing regular exercise. So I remember too, when my kids were younger, it was always, hey, I'm active outside. Why did I gain weight? Well, it's because I wasn't making time for that regular exercise. When I was home with the kids, they're home from school, I'm home from work, we're going to play, we're going to go to the beach. I wouldn't necessarily take the time to go for a run, go for a bike, lift weights, in an exercise format. So again, that's another reason that maybe we've lost muscle mass or gained some weight. And so the other thing I want to talk about in this is the concept of barriers. So none of these are excuses. None of these are you're not trying to get away with it. There's no shame for having a good time with the summer, but it's a barrier, right? So it's a barrier that it's great that the kids are home more. It's great that you're up at the cottage and you've got people there all the time. That's a gift, but the barrier is it makes it a little harder to focus. I've had patients who say, I've been at the cottage all summer, we've been entertaining all summer, I'll get back on track when I come back to the city, I'm back at my regular house, I'm working, a little closer to my job, even though I can still work from home. It's just, again, it's a gift, but those things are barriers. So we just have to think of our workaround. So next summer, when you're in that same situation, how can you take your free weights? How can you do some, extra actual strength training when you're off on vacation? So again, if you don't like how hard it is to get back on track, what little things can you do next summer to say, I'm going to not go back as far? So this summer, what I've done is, even though I have been a little bit more relaxed, I've still been weight training. I've still been, even if it's not an hour workout or a half an hour workout, I'm doing 15 minutes of maybe a hit ride on my spin bike or whatever. So again, it's again, we got to keep these habits going. So on that vein, I want to talk about the seeds. And so the seeds, for those of you who don't know, it's something we talk about at True a lot. And so I'm a list girl. So years ago, came up with this acronym of SEEDS, the 7 essential elements of daily success. And you can go on our website and download the free SEEDS ebook that allows you to read about the basics of each one of these things. And with our research and with our experience, we see that the more of the seeds that you're doing, the better you'll feel, the more you'll stay on track, the fewer hot flashes you'll have, the more energy you'll feel, and the more you'll feel like yourself. I think it's so interesting. This has been proven again and again, even looking at research from other clinics around the country like True, is that women who come to a clinic like True or an office like True where we specialize in women's health, you might be surprised why women come. It's not, oh my God, I'm having hot flashes. Women come because A, why am I gaining weight, right? And number 2, I don't feel like myself. And all treatment starts with the seeds. So what I'd like to do is go through each one of these, and you'll see on the left or the right, can't tell from this angle. Anyways, the water. So we talk about water as being a basic of 80 ounces a day. Now, we could argue all day about, do I need 80 or 90 or 100, or I can't drink more than 60, or I'm in the bathroom all the time. Use 80 as a baseline. But what I want you to think about the concept is 80 as net. So again, as you start to get back on track, now that it's after Labor Day, I want you to think about a net of 80 ounces of water. So let's say that I have 8 glasses of water, but I have 2 cups of coffee. So now I'm down to 6. And then I have a glass of wine at night. Now I'm down to 5. So I've only had 5 glasses of water net. So what I want you to think about, for each serving of alcohol, for each serving of caffeine, add that extra glass of water. I love my coffee. This is probably, I don't know, maybe 2.5, closing on 3 today. So it's just, I love my coffee, but then I make sure that I drink my water to make up for it. So I'm not going to give up my coffee. I had a patient today. She said, I hope you're not going to tell me to give up my coffee. I said, well, I'm not giving up mine, so I'm not going to ask you to give up yours. But we're going to have a workaround. We're going to drink more water before the coffee, after the coffee, and we're just going to make a deal with ourselves. So she's like, okay, I can do that. So we got to have our water. It has a lot to do with our skin quality, our hair quality, but also our energy and not getting tormented by hot flashes and night sweats. So I'm choosing to take estrogen. I'm in menopause, but if I get a hot flash, I'm like, oh, did I drink my water? Nope. Okay, so I'm going to down some water, and it's just such a good reminder. The next thing we think about is sleep. So again, as we're getting back on track, we've got to make sleep as a priority. I had a patient who was CEO of a company, and she's like, I can't sleep. How am I supposed to run this company and be a mom, and if I don't sleep? I'm like, well, sleep is critical to avoid dementia, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. I don't know how you can't not sleep and run a company. So maybe don't work more, work smarter, and you're going to be able to work smarter with more sleep. So a lot of times we think that we can just sleep as an optional thing. We can just, if there's time, I'll sleep, or I'll sleep when I'm retired. No, if you don't sleep, it's one of the very critical things that increases your risk for early heart attack, mood disorders. So if you want to retire and then not feel as good and not age as well, then don't sleep. So bottom line, you've got to get your sleep. We think of a baseline of 7 hours a night. And, think about it on a weekly basis. If you can get an average of 7 hours or about 50 hours a week, you are good. You are just rocking it. So again, you see on here on our seeds list, it's 50 hours a week. So maybe there's a night you do get 5.5 because you had a sick kid or, whatever, or you just, had so much on your mind or whatever. But then the next night you make sure you get 7.5. So it's just really to make sure we prioritize. One of the ways that's helped me is I've put an alarm on my clock, on my phone, to tell me to get ready to go to bed. And that's my 15-minute, and then I need to be in bed 15 minutes later. And that's actually really helped me, just to be a reminder, because I tend to get my third wind right around 11 o'clock. So if I'm going to get up at 6, I got to be in bed at 10:30. So I started setting it now for 10:15. So I have to really be careful to not let that third wind start, because then I could be up till midnight and not even think about it. So the next thing we think about is macronutrients. So macronutrients are complex carbs, protein, and fat. So, and then treats are that one. So we think about, just as a basic rule, we get 5 complex carbs. So those are carbs with color. So like brown rice, not white. Sweet potatoes, not white. So Triscuits, not Ritz crackers. So it's thinking about how can we get those complex carbs in? And we think about right around 5. They don't have to be big servings. And then we think about protein. So healthy, lean protein. So today at lunch, I had salmon. I had a salad. Can't remember what else I had, but it was some complex carb. Can't remember. So maybe it was Triscuits. So basically it's making sure we get that lean protein, lots of veg, and then the complex carb, and then a fat. So I had a little olive oil on my salad. So that was my healthy fat at lunch. And then I get one treat. So I did have a Thin Mint at lunch. Or a peppermint patty thing. So that was my treat. So again, it's keeping track of how many complex carbs, how many proteins, how many fats, how many treats. And if we can just limit to a treat, that can be a good way to get back on track. Micronutrients, that's your multivitamin. It just covers all the bases. So I love the Isogenics multivitamin, but basically a really good multivitamin. Nature Made is a brand that we have good faith in, that you can get at the grocery store, at the health food store. The Isogenics vitamin, again, is great. It's got packets, everything's in there. But it's really to make sure you get a good multivitamin. Also, it's so important now that Labor Day has passed. If you're north of Atlanta, then even on a sunny day like today here in Michigan, what's going to happen is the sun's not at the correct angle to get you enough sunlight to create vitamin D in your skin. Plus, like if you're like me, I've been inside most of the day. I haven't been exposed to any sun at all, really, except walking in and out of the house and work. And so it's really important to get that vitamin D started, because we need that vitamin D to absorb calcium to keep our bones strong. And I don't know about you, but I want to be able to play out there in the world and ride my bike and not worry if I'm going to fall, I'm going to break something. So we've got to get our vitamin D and our calcium. Plus, I was at the dentist 2 days ago. My teeth are nice and strong. Did you know that osteoporosis is one of the most common causes of losing teeth as we get older? I don't know about you, but I don't want to lose my teeth. So I'm going to take my vitamin D and take my calcium. The next one on the seeds is exercise. So again, I had a patient today who said, I'm so busy. It's so hard to plan, my exercise schedule. I'm just, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't have time. But I'm like, but do you watch Netflix? Well, yeah, I'll watch a little Netflix to turn my brain off. I'm like, how about turning your brain off with some great music and 15 minutes on the bike? Oh, I didn't think of it that way. So I want you to think about exercise is just so important for all parts of our body, including our mind. So, how much TV did you watch last night? Could you have spent half of that maybe exercising, even if you watch a show while you exercise? Whatever works. I love to just zone out with exercise and music. And so it's just making sure whatever you like to do, that you're doing it, not only just to lose weight or that sort of nebulous be healthy, it's I'm doing it to turn my brain off. And then the good side effect is you don't have to worry about your fall clothes not fitting when you go into the closet for the heavier clothing that we're going to have to start doing here pretty soon, especially, north of Atlanta. So the next thing is fiber. So those little beans on the thing are fiber. Fiber is so important in terms of, number one, helping the healthy bacteria in our gut have a good landing spot. We need those healthy bacteria in our gut to control what we absorb from our diet and what we don't absorb. And so especially having prebiotic fiber, like onions, like beans, like an apple with inulin, that prebiotic fiber is what we can have that healthy probiotic bacteria live on, like the probiotic bacteria found in kombucha or kefir or kimchi, if you like that, or sauerkraut. So fermented foods are so powerful to have those bacteria live in our gut and control, again, what we absorb. It also helps us reduce the risk of bladder infections and bacterial vaginosis by having a nice formed BM that doesn't create a lot of mess that creates those problems such as a bladder infection. And then the last thing is gratitude and metered breathing. So I don't know about you, but I'll have those nights where my mind's racing and it's hard for me to get to sleep. And again, every night it's just so important to have that practice of our gratitudes and a nice stretch before bed, and then just sitting and doing our metered breathing. And metered breathing is where put our tongue on the roof of our mouth. Suzanne at our office has taught me that's a very important pressure point. I'll take her word for it. So tongue on the roof of the mouth, mouth closed, open eyes, stare at a spot, and just breathe through our nose. And it's just to have that sense of peace. And if you have thoughts that start to go, fine, think about them for a second, but then go back to the sound of your breath through your nose and just let your body settle and then go to bed. If you lay there and say, well, that was stupid, that didn't work, then I want you to get up and do it again. We have to reset our habits to go to bed. We've got to go to bed and get that sleep. If during the day you have a stressful meeting, or before you go into a situation, or before you walk into the house after a day of work, I just want you to do the same thing. Just sit in the car for a second, think about what you're so thankful for, get you out of flight or fight. Then you just do even 1 minute of breathing. It brings us down. We can focus. So this is the Seeds. Again, I welcome you to download the Seeds ebook and to use this in daily practice. Many people have told me that they download this, they print it off, and they tape it up on the wall. We also have this in the book, I Want to Age Like That, but that's what that Seeds ebook looks like. The book, I Want to Age Like That, has a whole chapter on the seeds. And again, this is the story of the pilot study and the women who went through our study on our wellness program called Waypoints. And so it talks about how women incorporated the seeds in their life and how it made a really big difference. So the next thing I want to roll into are the 5 tips. So again, these are 5 takeaway tips that I want you to think about and be able to apply to your daily life. And number 1 is, again, summer fun can be a barrier. How can you understand what happened and then reset? So again, it's to say, I had a great time. I understand why I gained some weight. I understand why maybe I'm feeling a little off. Maybe I'm having a little bit more hot flashes or night sweats. Maybe my mood's a little off. I just need to get back on. It's okay. Like, it's to have gratitude for all the good that happened and then to reset and rededicate to our picture of self. This plan is all about taking apart those seeds and how do they apply to your life? How do they apply to your lifestyle? So again, it's going through those seeds. And for example, for exercise, every Sunday night, I put exercise on the schedule, just like I do meeting with you tonight, the Facebook Live, or a dentist appointment, or any other appointment. I put it right on the schedule. And so that exercise is just there. So again, the planning part is putting it on the schedule. Then it's up to you to execute. But if it's there, $10, it's more likely you're going to do it. Tip number 2 is to think about barriers as a concept, right? So again, barriers to me are something you say, okay, I'm going to figure out a workaround. Excuses, that's something you're trying to hide behind. You're not trying to hide behind the fact that you had fun at summer, or company up at the cottage all summer, or a kid's home and it was crazy, right? It's just a barrier. So us girls are smart. Let's just figure out a workaround. So again, next summer, can you just make sure you're doing 15 minutes of strength training 5 days a week? Can you make sure you're going to make time to go to a yoga class or do yoga in the backyard? Or like I tried to do a couple times, yoga on your paddleboard. That was entertaining for all, including myself. So it's really looking at how can we just identify those barriers and then do a workaround. Tip number 3 is you've got to prioritize sleep. It does so much for our body. It helps, I think about it in a very, teleological sense, is sleep is when we make our brain chemicals. So I don't know about you all, but when I'm not getting sleep, I'm off, I'm cranky, I'm a little irritable, I'm craving sugar. I'm just done. So sleep is critical for us to maintain a good mood. And again, it really impacts our insulin resistance. When we're heading to menopause and we lose our estrogen, we also, again, become more insulin resistant. And that risk of weight loss or weight gain is very significant. Again, how much to get daily? We want to get 7 hours. So on average, 49 hours a week. Tip number 4, there's tricks. What to eat when there's stress or you have limited time. You've got to focus on those complex carbs. So when you're stressed, make sure you stick with a protein and some Triscuits, some smoked salmon and Triscuits, some peanut butter and an apple. It's to really go to those first. And then if you want to treat after that, okay, fine. But the other thing is that when you eat those complex carbs and you've maintained a really even blood sugar, it helps your insulin not be over, up, and down. And so you're not going to get that rapid insulin response if you've been maintaining your blood sugars. And so if I'm going to, go out for dinner, I'm going to have some salmon, maybe a salad, and that glass of wine. But all day long, I've had, lower calories, but smaller portions of complex carbs. So again, focus on those complex carbs. My favorite book about this concept is Sugar Busters. So it just really teaches that glycemic index and to make sure we're getting that food heavy with fiber to just slow the absorption and keep those healthy bacteria really happy. And trick number 5, it's that power of meter breathing. When we're in flight or fight, insulin is that acute phase reactant. So when we're in flight or fight, whatever we eat is much more likely to go to fat because our body is in survival mode. And so it wants to store fat in our belly fat because it's going to be there for later when we need it. And I think about belly fat like Siberia. Once it's there, it's so hard to ever come back. So we want to know the power of meter breathing. What I'll say is that this world is crazy. It's stressful. All of our lives, kids going everywhere, parents, we're in that sandwich generation where we've got older parents and younger kids and lots of stuff going on. So we're not going to change our world. I don't know about you, but I like it when things are crazy and I got lots going on. I don't want to change that. But I have to change how my inside reacts. So how do I do that? I have gratitude. I think about gratitude all day long. I have a gratitude practice at night, and I know the power of meter breathing. And every morning I've started doing just an intention practice. How do I want my day to go, my week to go? What do I want? I want ease. I want abundance. I want clarity. Truth, trust, and clarity. Thanks to Aunt Norma. That's what we say. Truth, trust, and clarity. I so want that. And of course, I want that for all of you. But the power of meter breathing and gratitude, it helps bring together our mind, body, and spirit and keep us in a good place. So let's move to questions to ask your healthcare provider. So questions to ask your healthcare provider. Number 1, I say this every time because it's so critical. I got to go to a U of M football game this past weekend, and I looked across the crowd of 100,000 people or however many were there. And I thought, what if every woman knew her phase of ovarian function? She would know what to expect. She wouldn't be surprised by the changes in her body. Again, at 30, you can get away with a month of not, eating so smart and not getting sleep. But when you're 55, it catches up really quick. So I know I'm in menopause. I know that it's going to catch up with me. In late perimenopause, it starts to get worse. In early perimenopause is not so bad. But reproductive phase, you can get away with a lot more. So again, if we know our phase of ovarian function, we know what to expect. So again, I want you to know your phase of ovarian function. And again, to be able to ask your healthcare provider, hey, where am I? And again, if they're say, hey, that's not my expertise, then can you find a certified menopause practitioner in your area if you're not around here in Michigan? So again, you just have to go to the website, menopause.org. And that will help you find a certified menopause practitioner in your area, certified by the North American Menopause Society. Question number 2 is hormone replacement therapy safe for me? So hormone therapy is hormone medications. At True, we so are an advocate of bioidentical but FDA approved hormone replacement therapy. We believe in safety first. We want to make sure it's safe for you. So we do a very careful risk stratification or a risk identification to make sure that it's a safe choice for you. And then we talk about the options. If you choose to take hormones, it can be very helpful in terms of helping you sleep well, helping you have good function. Again, there's FDA approved reasons like maintaining your bone mass, like helping reduce risk of hot flashes and night sweats, helps with vaginal dryness and avoid pain with intercourse. It helps with not having bladder urgency, but we use it off-label to help with sleep, to help with mood. And we know that it often can be very helpful to reduce our risk factors for heart disease for some women and also to help maintain our muscle mass. Now, hormone replacement therapy has had lots of questions over the past in terms of people are still very afraid of it. My good friend Jim Simon says that the fear of hormones is like the zombie idea, that it will not die no matter how much data we throw at it. And I'm so blessed that Dr. Jim Simon is going to be in West Michigan here in a couple weeks, right after our NAMS meeting, so at the end of September. And what's going to happen is that Dr. Simon is going to host with me a talk for anyone to join on our Facebook Live. We're going to do noon at Thursday on September 30th to talk about hormone replacement is safer than you think. So Jim and I are going to be together at True talking about HRT. That night for patients of True and patients of Mercy Health concierge practice, we're going to have a meeting on classy conversation about sex for couples over 40. And we're going to have a really classy conversation about intimacy, about sexual health for people to really have a comfortable forum to talk about this. And then the next day, Dr. Simon is joining me to talk to healthcare providers about HRT in terms of primary care docs and internal medicine docs who don't have the time to go to our Menopause Society meetings. We're going to be able to provide a forum that healthcare professionals can learn about HRT is safer than they think. So we're really excited about these events. But this is a question I want you to be able to talk to your healthcare provider. If it's not their expertise, it's okay. They're doing lots of other great stuff. Then ask for a referral or go to the website, menopause.org. Hey, Melissa, thanks for your comment. Love you too. So question number 3. Is there a role for an SSRI or an antidepressant in coping in menopause? So again, this is something I'd want you to be able to ask your healthcare provider. Is there a role for a medication that might help me cope even for a short period of time? And having an SSRI, so for example, a brand name would be Lexapro or Prozac or Celexa or Zoloft or Paxil. So these medications I want you to think about is not a crutch, not something to cover up feelings. They're not uppers. They're not downers. All they do is put more brain chemical in the mix to help you cope with what's going on. So truly, if you're in a place where there's just been so much going on, I think about kind of a basic formula to think about brain chemicals is that you make them when you sleep, and genetically, some people make more than others. You spend brain chemical on all the extra things going on in your life, and you spend brain chemical quicker when your estrogen is lower. So think, for example, of PMS. PMS is when your estrogen drops before a period. And when your estrogen drops, maybe you're not sleeping as well, you're craving sugar, and you get irritable and cranky, and you don't cope as well. So think of PMDD as PMS on steroids. Think of postpartum depression as the same physiology of PMS. And perimenopause or menopause mood disturbance, again, has very similar physiology. Low estrogen, poor sleep, lots of stress. You put all that together, and it's so hard to cope. You might say, hey, those seeds sound like a great idea, but I am so anxious. I'm so depressed. I am so in the hole. There is no way I'm going to do any of that. So if you're not liking to do what you normally like to do, if you are not able to do the habits that you know would be helpful, maybe your brain chemicals are too low. Maybe you've got some mild depression or anxiety that's getting in the way of you moving forward. Please don't be shy. And heaven forbid that you're feeling so sad or so hopeless that you're even considering hurting yourself. Please reach out. A good friend of mine, Vonnie Woodruck, has an organization, I Understand, that has just taught us so much about the risk of suicide, the risk of as a side effect of mental health issues. So again, there is a role for speaking up, speaking out, asking for help, and asking for support. So coping, you've got to ask for help. Okay, that's a big subject. Question number 4. Are there tools to track symptoms? So I'm very proud to have come up with a menopause transition scale. The MTS is a scale that if you're a patient of True, you can use the app to track your symptoms. So I don't know about you, but questions or surveys that have lots of questions, like 21 questions and like five ways to answer, like kind of, maybe, so. To me, that's too complicated and annoying. So I came up with the MTS. It's 7 questions. And for each question, there's a 3, which means, hey, I'm doing good. Minimal hot flashes. 1 is, oh my God, the hot flashes are horrible. I'm having 20 hot flashes a day, 10 night sweats, and I'm out of control. That's a 1. So we're able to track these symptoms really quick. And I'm very proud that I am presenting the data on the MTS at the menopause meeting, the North American Menopause Society meeting, coming up here in September. So the MTS is it's in a very effective way. It's a great tool to track the symptoms. And this is something that you can read about. You can even fill out once on our website and learn about that. And again, you can read about the MTS in the book or buy the workbook, and you can track it for yourself. It's a great way to see, okay, I'm having hot flashes. Yep, I had a popsicle. I had a beer. I didn't drink my water. I haven't slept. And I'm really stressed out because school's starting. So again, it's looking at tracking your habits or your seeds and your symptoms. And as your seeds go up, $10, your MTS will go up. Maybe you need some hormones or an SSRI to top it off. But again, the seeds are the foundation of good treatment, and you'll see your MTS go up accordingly. Okay, number 5. Again, question to ask your healthcare provider. How well can I be? So for example, if you've had a history of diabetes, that's always going to be there. But how can we help you not have diabetes that's out of control? So it's really understanding not only how well you can be, but what is your picture of self, and to be able to talk to your healthcare provider and develop that goal. I love the concept of picture of self. It is your picture of yourself at your milestone event. So I don't know about you guys, but I use my birthday every year as that time to look back at the year past, to look at the year forward. What have I done? What am I going to do? What is my intention going forward? But I think about anchoring in the future at that event. So I just turned 55. So how am I going to be at 56? How am I going to be at 60? How am I going to be in the future? I make a decision to that and I commit to that. And if I anchor on a future goal, that helps drive all these little decisions I do every day. And so we need that to be a realistic goal, right? So what is your weight? What is your bone health? What is your heart health? What is your income security? It's making sure you work with your healthcare provider. I always say, medicine, our goal should be what your goal is. And if we don't even ask you what your goal is, or we don't help you develop your goal, then how can we effectively partner with you to reach your goal? And again, that's what you find in our book and our workbook. Again, these are tools, and our goal at True is to reach as many women as possible with these tools. We as women, we've got to take responsibility, but how can we do that if we don't know what to do? So at True, we try to personalize all this information that's out there and make it work for you. So again, these are questions I want you to be able to ask your healthcare provider. Now I see Susan is asking, hey, Dr. B, Susan here. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I thought you were going to ask me a question, Susan. So great to hear from you. And Elizabeth is happy at True, and I've kept my promise, and she is part of our team. And thank you for looking out for her in the past, although she's doing awesome on her own. Anyways, I get off track. And Melissa says, we've been talking about seeds. Oh, yes. So Melissa remembers when I used to draw seeds out on a napkin when we were out having a cocktail and talking about our dreams and hopes for the future. And I drew out seeds and I said, what do you guys think, with my besties? And so, Melissa, thanks for that memory. But again, this has been in my brain for a long time. And what I'll close on again is I'm so honored and grateful to come into your homes, on your phones, off, wherever you are, and share this information. And hopefully, again, even if it's helped a little bit or giving you one little aha moment, I'm very grateful for being able to work and partner with you on your health. For the next episode of Let's Chat, I welcome you to join us for Pelvic Pain Why. This is also Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And again, it's talking about why might you have pelvic pain and what can we do about it. So there's no reason that you need to suffer. And so I want to offer ways to make sure you know you're safe and then to talk about what to do about it. Number one is to keep you safe. And number two is to make sure that you're not suffering unnecessarily. And again, it's all about starting with why is it happening and then what can I do about it. So everyone, thank you again. Please stay safe. Thank you very much. Visit us at truewomenshealth.com.